As Labor Day dawns, we celebrate the workers who, in the 1880s, defied corporate giants to demand fair wages, safer workplaces, and the right to speak collectively. Their struggle is marked by strikes and sacrifices, secured freedoms we honor today. Yet in 2025, as we continue to fight for our freedom, a parallel battle unfolds in the digital realm, where social media platforms and corporate behemoths with vast control silence voices through algorithms and opaque policies. Content creators, echoing the laborers of old, face censorship, with posts grounded in facts like labor statistics or legal cases, flagged or removed. The frustration drives many to consider quitting, while concerns about government manipulation of data and punishment of dissent, like the case of Jacob Chansley, the QAnon shaman, highlight a broader battle for free expression. Through legal victories and grassroots efforts, people are pushing back, determined to keep the digital square open. Imagine Spirit, a content creator who posts a video analyzing the July 2025 Bureau of Labor Statistics report, which showed United States employers added only 73,000 jobs, missing the expected 109,000, with underreporting of 258,000 jobs for May and June. Citing the Bureau of Labor Statistics directly, her video is removed from a platform like YouTube for community standards violations, with no clear explanation and an obscured appeal process. Actually, my plight is pretty common, as content creators often report that their posts about economic data, elections, or legal cases end up being throttled or banned. A 2024 report from the Electronic Frontier Foundation noted that platforms' moderation is inconsistent, often targeting specific viewpoints under these vague labels like misinformation. During the COVID-19 pandemic, platforms like Google and Pinterest suppressed content that questioned official narratives, even when it came from credible sources, as we saw in Murthy versus Missouri, yet the practice continues. As a seasoned medical professional with decades of pharmacy practice, drug regulation, and even expert designation for court testimonies, my opinion is repeatedly being silenced by an algorithm that retrieves data from many controlled news sources. All of this censorship stifles creators, limits public discourse, and honestly fuels a lot of frustration, pushing many people to just abandon their platforms altogether. But I'm here with you guys, and I plan on staying with you as long as they let me, though I might need an energy refueling period from time to time. The first thing you might wonder is, what does online censorship have to do with Labor Day? I'll explain. Approximately 45 million Americans identify as professional content creators, with 162 million total creators. About 390,000 full-time equivalent jobs were supported by YouTube creators alone in 2022, and 27 million Americans aged 16 to 54 are paid creators, representing 14% of that age group. Content creators have become a huge part of the workforce as jobs are replaced by automation, AI, and robots. These numbers suggest an online content creator workforce that is 10 times larger than the combined number of police officers, doctors, and lawyers in the United States. That's why this censorship is so important. Today, social platforms are the new workplace, and workers should be protected by many of the laws that protect workplace employees. So, how do platforms escape legal accountability? It's no mistake. Because they are private entities, they're actually exempt from First Amendment obligations, according to Manhattan Community Access Corp. versus Halleck from 2019, which lets them moderate content pretty much at will. However, every other private business is not exempt from free speech suppression. So, what gives with these powerful media moguls where broad terms like harmful content or disinformation enable this kind of selective enforcement, And, it's often swayed by internal biases or even outside pressures. In Murthy versus Missouri in 2024, the Supreme Court reviewed claims that Biden administration officials pressured platforms to suppress COVID-19 and election-related content. The 6-3 ruling found that the plaintiffs lacked standing to prove direct harm, but Justice Alito's dissent, which was joined by Justices Thomas and Gorsuch, argued that government coercion really threatened free speech. This corporate government dynamic creates real barriers for creators like Spirit, who end up being controlled by tech giants that shape what billions of people see. The labor movement's fight resonates here. Workers once faced corporate blacklists for speaking out. Today, creators face digital blacklists, shadow bans, and deplatforming. The societal cost is high. Silenced voices shrink the marketplace of ideas, eroding trust in information. When creators quit, society loses diverse perspectives, leaving corporate-approved narratives as the dominant news source. This mirrors concerns about labor statistics, where trust in data is crucial. The BLS reported a 4.2% unemployment rate in July 2025, with 7.2 million unemployed and 425,000 discouraged workers who stopped seeking jobs. These figures shape policy and markets, making their integrity vital. Efforts to protect this integrity face challenges. On August 1, 2025, President Trump fired BLS Commissioner Erica McIntarfer hours after the weak July jobs report, alleging without evidence she rigged data to harm his administration. Of course, the left has called the firing meritless, urging Congress to investigate to preserve BLS's nonpartisan integrity. Anything to distract this administration from trying to straighten this government monster out. Jacob Chansley, who was deemed the QAnon shaman, faced charges for his role in the January 6th Capitol event. Chansley was sentenced to 41 months in prison during the Biden administration. Jacob was prosecuted under the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, which was designed to address corporate fraud like document shredding, but the court extrapolated this law to include obstructing Congress by the events at the Capitol. However, in Fisher v. United States 2024, the Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision, overturned the use of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act for January 6th cases, ruling that it only applies to destruction of evidence, not broadly disrupting events like the electoral count which was underway. Chief Justice Roberts wrote the decision and said that due to the law's narrow scope, Joseph Fisher's conviction was vacated. The decision impacts others, including Chansley, whose sentence was already served. The ruling, issued on June 28, 2024, sparked debate, with free speech advocates calling Chansley's case punishment for his political expression, which is consistent with the opinion of many people, including myself. Other cases bolster this fight. In O'Connor-Ratcliffe v. Garnier and Linkey v. Freed, 2024, the Supreme Court unanimously ruled that public officials violate the First Amendment when they block critics on social media pages used for official purposes. In NRA v. Vullo, 2024, the court unanimously held that New York's financial regulator violated the NRA's First Amendment rights by pressuring companies to cut ties with them. The NRA is the National Rifle Association, which the left has been after for a long time. In Walters v. Freedom from Religion Foundation, 2025, the ACLU helped dismiss a SLAPP lawsuit against the FFRF, protecting advocacy from retaliatory litigation. In NetChoice v. Paxton and Moody v. NetChoice, 2024, trade groups challenged Texas and Florida laws restricting platform moderation, with the Supreme Court remanding the cases for further review, highlighting tensions between state regulation and corporate control. Labor Day honors workers who fought corporate power to secure their voices. Today, content creators and those like Chansley, caught in legal battles over speech, face a similar struggle against corporate and political pressures. The frustration of censorship is real, but legal victories like Fisher, NRA versus Vullo, and grassroots efforts offer us hope that the tide is changing. As we celebrate Labor Day 2025, let's honor the unbreakable spirit of American workers, from factory floors to digital platforms, where millions of content creators now shape our world. Their hustle, innovation, and courage to speak freely embody the heart of the American dream, forging new paths in a changing workforce. Here's to every worker, online and offline, building a brighter future and working hard to make America great again.